Okay, it is the next A to Z mini rework. My thoughts, ideas, blah, 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 blah. We have Fiddlesticks, the Harbinger of Doom. It's kind of stupid. It's the first time I've really read that. Really? The Harbinger of Doom? Okay. Damage. Magic. Yep. What? What? Difficulty 2? Ha! Difficulty 0.5. Like, cut this in half and you have Fiddlesticks. He's the simplest character in the world. You literally hit your Alt key, hit your Q key, hit your E key, and hit your W for good measure. Like, what? No, no, no. He has no difficulty whatsoever. Do not let this lie to you. He is a simple champion. Damage 3. I agree with this, and that's a bit of a problem. Crowd control 3. I agree with this, and it's a bit of a problem. His mobility should be 2. His ult literally blatantly teleports him. Like, I understand it's his ult, so it's not like a major move. It's not like something he's going to be able to do often. But at the same time, it's still a teleport, and his ult does not have a big cooldown. It doesn't. His toughness, yeah, that's very little. And same with his utility. Fiddlesticks is a ghastly living scarecrow who stalks the darkness, wielding a cruel scythe and preying upon the unwary. Once a lonely man accused of bringing famine to his village, he was tied up and left to starve in his own barn field. Resurrected by the savage murderer of crows that fed on his remains, What? Fiddlesticks now relishes terrorizing his victim before claiming their lives amid a flurry of feathers and blood-splattered beaks. Dang! Harbinger of Doom. Jesus. Lord, it's disgusting. Okay. Dread. Standing still or channeling ability for 1.5 seconds. Empowers Fiddlesticks with Dread. Immobilizing crowd control resists this timer. Oh, resets the timer. Resists. Dread grants movement speed, but only lasts for 1.5 seconds after Fiddlesticks starts moving. Yeah, this is a bit of a... It's more useful than you'd think it'd be. Terrify, a really stupid fucking ability. Strikes a target unit with fear, causing it to flee in terror duration. It's an AoE fear, and it's fucking stupid. Drain. Fiddlesticks saps the life force of an enemy, dealing damage to a target over time and healing himself. It's really flipping stupid. It's impossible to trade with him early when he has this ability. Especially if he has his E or his Q. Meaning as long as he's level 2, he wins. E. Dark Wind. A wisp of wind strikes an enemy unit and then bounces... A wisp of wind? Nearby enemy units dealing damage and silencing the other... Wind? That's a crow! How is that wind? Bounces to nearby enemy units, dealing damage and silencing the victims. Crow Storm. A murderer of crows flock wildly around Fiddlesticks, dealing damage per second to enemy units in the area. Okay. Okay, see, his ult and his W proc his passive really well because they make him not move. So the second like this ends, he then gets a burst of movement speed. His ult, as you can see, he has to charge it for a second and then he teleports, doing a lot of damage and scaring the hell out of you. Now what often happens is he'll use his ult, he'll jump on you, he'll use his Q, and then he'll use his E, and you'll be crowd controlled while taking a shit ton of damage from his ult. And because he'll probably have Azonias, he'll literally be able to do damage all around him for a while, without taking any damage himself. And then even after that's done, he can use his W, as I said earlier, just for good measure. His W, for more than anything else, is just as a sustain tool. And his alt, or his passive, as I said, it's useful just because of his alt and his W, but it's really not that insane. But at the same time, it's like it helps his kit more than you'd think it would. Before, it was standing in a bush for a certain amount of time would give him that. But now, now it's just standing still. Honestly, they should revert it. Just to force him to have to go into bushes, because now he doesn't need to go into bushes and he can just jump on you and murder you. It's kind of stupid. Okay, so I'm going to be quite blunt. I think Fiddlesticks needs a full rework and a half. One, you know how he uses a scythe? Yeah, he's a ranged champion. His auto attacks are ranged. He doesn't even use the scythe to hit people. It's what? He's not melee. Like, it confuses me. So I think, one, he should be changed to melee. Two, they should, when they rework him, they should change his passive back to what it was before, which standing in a bush for a certain amount of time will give him movement speed for the next 2 seconds, whether he's channeling an ability or not. Just standing in a bush at all will give him movement speed. Honestly, I really don't know how I fully would work him. I think I would. Man, I really don't. I would basically embrace the Scarecrow. No, this is gonna. I know, like, he is a Scarecrow type deal, but I do it in a slightly different way, such as I would make his W not really him. I would make his W, he'd throw down, or he would, like, throw a Scarecrow. The Scarecrow is what would drain your HP. Like, he would actually, like, chuck kind of like a spear-looking thing, but it would be a Scarecrow. I would change his aesthetic so that he himself wouldn't be fully Scarecrow, that he'd have, like, a straw head type deal, and he'd kind of have like a Freddy Krueger kind of sweater on him, and then his like skin would just look like torn up and destroyed, but he himself would not be a Scarecrow. And then like on his back, he would actually hold like scarecrows, and crows would fly around him, kind of like Swain's part of his passive, where crows just always will like spawn in the area that he is. Like, this will have the same deal. But what it will be is that his W will actually, his W is what will like use his abilities, is basically is what I want it to be. Like, it'll force you to start his W over anything else. Kind of like Azir. So what it will be is, like, your W will be a skill shot, but it won't really matter basically where it lands, because it will be AoE from like where it lands, and it will be connected to you. So what it will be is you'll throw down his W and it'll be a Scarecrow. This is an untargetable thing that will zap the life force, like what his W does currently, from whoever the target is. Now, the target, it will prioritize enemy champions, but it can also hit minions and monsters and so on and so forth. Now, it will not heal you until you go over and pick it up. Upon picking it up, you will then be healed for, like, what you would have been if you actually had your W. That way, you don't get the healing as you're flipping fighting. As I said earlier, his auto attacks would be changed to a melee instead of currently him being ranged. He'd have, like, an ability to... I still want him to be able to fear people, but I don't think it should work the way it currently is, where it's just like an AoE from him. I think it should be more along the lines of something like... his Q will be like a sigil, kind of like LeBlanc's Q, where he will throw a marker onto an enemy, and then his W will then proc the marker upon hitting them. And the marker will then fear them from his W, but not from him. The reason this is it will actually give you a chance to survive. Yes, it will actually be more point and click, but now it won't be as AoE, meaning he won't be able to fear 3 people. And then his E will basically his kit will stay very similar to what it is currently, but with like a small twist on everything. Or actually, I just kind of thought about something else. You can. This is just off the top of my head. With his Q, you will be able to actually fear multiple people, but it will work in a kind of different way. Such as you'd have to use your abilities in this order of Q, E, W. Such as your Q will place the sigil on someone, but then your E will throw the bird from you. It'll basically be what it is now, but it will not silence. It will not silence. Doing whatever the heck it's called. And the bird will pick up the sigil, spreading it, meaning that all enemies that are hit by the bird after the first enemy hit, meaning the person that you put the sigil on, it will cause the sigil to spread to every single person, and then you can throw your W, and it will actually cause your W to fear all of the targets in its range. Now, it will have, like, your W will have multiple ranges to it. It won't be, the fear will have technically 2 ranges, such as, think of it as, a circle, kind of like your alt, where this entire, let's say that's what the W's range is when you throw it down. Like, you throw down the Scarecrow, and it lands right where he is currently. Or let's just say it lands where he teleports, so it's right between all of Lux and the minions. It lands right there. That's where your W Scarecrow lands. And it will have the range of kind of like your alt, where it will hit, where it will, like, zap enemies, but it will do, like, your W, it'll drain them of HP. But it will have a little circle inside of it, like, cut that in half, and then in that circle is where it will fear people, if they're just in that area at all. No matter where they are, if they have a sigil that can be feared, they will be feared. But it will fear one person that it's actually getting hit. Such as whoever is actually being drained, if they have a sigil on them, no matter where they are in the range, even if they're at the very edge of the range and not in that half range I was saying earlier, then they will be feared just because, like, they're being hit by the laser. Now, his E. This will cut down his crowd control, so that, like, you have the possibility of getting more, but it'll give, like, a crowd control of 2. His E will be able to bounce to whatever the heck it's called. Bounce to your Scarecrow. Basically, all your abilities will involve with your W in some way, shape, or form. So your Q can place a sigil, your E can spread the sigil, your W can actually proc the fear. Your W can drain enemies of health, and if you go pick it up, it will heal you whatever it drained. Your E will still be the Scarecrow where you'll throw it, and it will hit enemy after enemy, picking up the sigil if it happens to run into an enemy that has one, and then spreading it to every subsequent enemy that it hits afterward. But your W can be targeted by you. Now, not in the sense of, well, that is actually the sense of how you kill it, such as it will have 1 HP for you, and after you melee it, you auto-attack it, then it will heal you. But also, you can throw your E on it, and that will cause the bird to, like, hit your Scarecrow. And then I don't really fully know what I want it to do after that. As I said, this isn't like a fully done rework. I would have it either hit the Scarecrow, increasing the W drain that it does from there on, meaning it has the possibility of hitting the Scarecrow and then doing that, or I would make the Scarecrow stay on your whatever the heck it's called, stay on the Scarecrow. The crow that you throw with your E, if it runs into your W, it will not be able to run into the W if it has a sigil on it, such as, like, your Q sigil. But if it runs into the E, even if it's like the last possible way of running into the E, meaning it bounces on 6 enemies and then, or it bounces on 4 or 5 enemies and then it jumps to the Scarecrow after that, then it will still attach to it. Now, what this will do, as I said, it can either increase the damage and subsequently the drain, meaning how much you'll heal after meleeing it, of the Scarecrow, or it will attach to the Scarecrow, changing the laser from not being green, but it will change it to pink. Now, you're probably thinking, why? Well, because the color of the Scarecrows is already a pinkish, purplish thing. So then after that, it will cause the pink beam that like your W like creates from the Scarecrow being with from the crow being with your Scarecrow. It will cause all enemies to not only like you life drain them, but you will also silence whoever is being life drained, kind of like how your E is currently, but a little bit differently. Okay, and now it's finally for the last part, such as Crow Storm. It will actually be very similar, yet again, to what it is currently. Because I don't really like the way reworks have been recently, where you're changing the entire flippin' champion to where they don't even have like the same similar feel or anything. I prefer things like this, where you're just changing the ability slightly enough to where, you know, it's still the same champion, just works differently. And then after this happens, your W, yet again, will be your big important key here. What will happen is you will, yet again, you'll stand still, you'll throw down your W, and then your actual self, will change into will start, like, charging for a second. Kind of like, you know, how you stand still currently. Like that. Upon teleporting to, or after like charging for whatever time, you will then teleport to your W, the Scarecrow. After this happens, you will then have the same AoE that is around you currently, but you'll be able to expect, you know, the AoE because you're teleporting to the Scarecrow. Now, while you have teleported to the Scarecrow, you yourself turn into one. Giving, now what this will do is that if you use your E, it will cause what happened, like your W will be active the entire time, meaning you will be life draining from people around you, if there are any people around you. Your E, if you throw your E, it will be able to jump back to you, causing you to have this bonus silence with your laser, or having the bonus damage. I prefer the bonus silence personally, so we're just going to go with that. And then your Q, if you happen to sigil someone and you get in range of them, it will automatically fear them. So you will become your W. And your passive, I'm not entirely sure. Actually, well, that's like the one thing I really don't know what I would do with it. As I said, I'd have part of it be that scarecrows kind of spawn around you. But then I would also maybe make it something a little bit differently, such as upon you gain increased movement speed to your scarecrow, like your W, and you also do whatever the heck it's called. You gain bonus movement speed upon becoming your scarecrow. So basically, the whole point of this is that it will add a bit more ability to get out the way if someone sees your W. Because upon you throwing your W, they'll see the little marker thing, they'll see the laser beam that's coming from it that's taking their HP, and then they'll realize, oh, he's about to ult, and they'll say, let's get the fuck out of dodge. But then you'll also gain the bonus movement speed from your passive, and then you'll have all your bonus abilities. Basically, you're still the very, very similar to how you are now, but revolving your kit around a slightly different aspect and thing. And I think that would be a good rework of Fiddlesticks currently. But that's just me. Skins. Okay, we have Fiddlesticks. We have Spectral Fiddlesticks. I think it's in, it's basically just Fiddlesticks, but, different color. We have Union Jack Fiddlesticks, which I think they should have, like, made the entire thing blue and red, like, his arms and everything, and not just make, like, the barbed wire kind of holding him together. Bandit Fiddlesticks. Yet again, it's kind of just his regular skin, just with a poncho and a sombrero on. I kind of wish that they did maybe, like, a little bit more with, like, all his limbs again. Pumpkinhead Fiddlesticks. I like this one because it actually it changes his face, and it, like, his clothes and body, like, change a bit more than just let's change his color or his uniform, basically. Fiddle Me Timbers. I find this one really just funny and stupid, and honestly, because of that, I really like it. And I think that it is an okay skin. But I wish that, like, he still had the scythe and not really a sword. Surprise Party Fiddlesticks. This one is honestly a really good skin. It has a lot of good animations. And overall, it is a good skin. I wish that they changed his face, though. Like, everything is really well changed except for his face. Like, I wish that he had kind of like a clown, like, white face with still keeping the green eyes, with, like, confetti hair type deal. Something like that. Dark Candy Fiddlesticks. I like this one a lot. It does look very cool. It changes up his body really well. It actually gives him limbs instead of just making it all sticks. And overall, I think it is a very nice skin. And yet again, like, they continue the trend with Risen Fiddlesticks. Also is very nice. I think it changes him up a good amount, enough to, like, make him really actually look good, and so on and so forth. And yeah. Now, I know that I recommend this skin all the time, but I just really, honest to God, like it. We're gonna go find Nar again because Gentleman. Like, I think it would work really well on Fiddlesticks. Just imagine Fiddlesticks, like, he keeps the regular head he has currently. Give him, like, a pipe, kind of like, let me see, where's Cho'Gath? Give him, like, a pipe. Here it is, Gentleman Cho'Gath. Give him, like, a pipe in his actual face with, like, whatever the heck it's called, a monocle. Give him, like, a pipe in his mouth, a monocle on one of his eyes, and then put him in, like, a suit. Make his arms, like, still stick-based, but give them, like, have, like, the tears on the edges like this, okay? And then give him exactly this. Like, give him, like, the cufflings at the edge of each of his, hands. Well, I know he only has 2 hands, but still. Put, like, a glove on him, kind of like this, and then make like his scythe a staff, kind of like how this looks currently. Make it like a regular staff, but then, like, the edge of it, imagine Nar's little, like, the part that you hold at the end of your staff or your walking stick, whatever the heck you want to call it, and make that just, like, really long and just turn it into a stinking staff type deal. And give him actual, like, proper shoes, give him a top hat. I think it would look really cool and just funny and good all at the same time. And that's honestly the only really skin I have for Fiddlesticks. So, yet again, thank you all very much for watching today's video. Please leave a like and subscribe. And if you happen to know any Riot members or anything, please tell them of the changes that I have come up here now with Fiddlesticks, because I honestly think that it would be a pretty good change for him, and that it would really kind of help balance him out, because right now his damage is too much. His CC, his kit is just way too easy to burst you down and destroy you before you even have the opportunity or the chance to do anything about it, and there's very little to, like, no counterplay on his kit. And I think that is a problem. So, thank you all very much for watching. And I'm going to bid you all adieu. Goodbye.